We now know how PS Plus is doing. There's some extra games for subscribers, and we also know the new PS Now games for November. Let's jump into it. So when you've got a service like PS Now or Xbox Game Pass, Sony definitely has the easier service to make money on, because the key thing you're getting with PlayStation Plus is the ability to play games online with multiplayer and other PvP stuff like that. On Xbox's side, they gotta shell out money every single month to buy games to add to Xbox Game Pass, and obviously it's a lot harder to make money if you're just spending that much to get games. Obviously Sony also has to spend a little bit of money to get the free games every month on their service, PS Plus, but you know, they're only giving you a few games at a time, and a lot of the best games that show up on PS Plus are actually made by Sony, so they don't gotta pay anything for those. Now you can make the argument that Sony loses money when they put games on PS Plus, but they're usually pretty smart about it. They wait till the game has been on sale for like $20 or $10 or even cheaper than that, and it's kind of sold through all of the games they're ever going to sell through, so they can say, all right, we're going to put this on PS Plus to keep people subscribing, because getting them to pay $10 at Target for a game makes them way less money than someone dropping $60 a year on PS Plus. And it seems like that strategy is paying off big time, because they're nearing 50 million subscribers on the service. Now that's really good on its own, because it's essentially pure profit for them, and don't even get me started on why I think it's stupid that we have to pay for online multiplayer on our $500 console. But if you want some perspective on how well PS Plus is doing, Xbox Game Pass, they don't release the actual numbers of how many subscribers there are, but the estimate right now is that it's between 25 and 30 million subs, with 30 million being like a very generous guess. And I know PS Plus has been around a lot longer than Game Pass, and there's definitely a lot more PS5s out there than Xbox Series X's and Xbox Series S's and Xbox Ones, but you know, it's crazy to consider how much better of a value you get with Game Pass with how many games you actually get. Sony's really showing how well here their quality over quantity practice is paying off, because people will pay for good games. You know, you can have as many games as you want on Game Pass, but as long as you don't have bangers, people are just going to keep paying for PS Plus. Like just this past month in October, we got an awesome game on PS Plus, which is Hell Let Loose. Now that's the one game that was not on Game Pass last month. They had a trial where you could play it for like 2 or 3 hours before actually committing to buy the game, but it's an awesome, huge multiplayer shooter that really has a huge player base over on PlayStation now, because you know, it was included with PS Plus, and I think that's awesome. They've also had some really big games that aren't even on Xbox show up on PS Plus, like Final Fantasy VII Remake Part 1, and I know with that one, if you downloaded that version of the game, you still had to buy the upgrade to play it on your PS5 with all the enhancements, but still, you're paying like $20 to get that upgrade versus $70 for the game in the box, and I really think that's a good option for people who have a PS5 that, again, you just can't get on the Xbox Series X. You can get the like remastered version of the PS1 game, but I don't think anyone's gonna go for that over the remake, you know? And speaking of how good PS Plus is, one of the big bonuses we got this month is 3 additional PSVR games on top of the other games we already got, which were pretty good. I mean, I know you guys are probably sick of hearing about it, but Kingdoms of Amalur: Re-Reckoning being on PS Plus was awesome for me. That was a huge game for me in college, and nowhere near enough people played it because the studio shut down like right after the game was released, and I really want that game to get a sequel. I know they added new DLC into this Re-Reckoning version of the game that kind of teases a sequel, but there's been no word on the sequel yet, so make sure you go download Kingdoms of Amalur: Re-Reckoning and at least give it a shot. But yeah, in addition to all the games you're getting for the PS5 and PS4, again, you're getting 3 bonus PSVR games, and they're actually really good. So we'll start out with the Persistence here. This is a survival horror game that came out, I think, exclusively on PSVR. It might be on Steam right now, but I don't think any game the studio makes ever again will end up on PC unless PlayStation wants to start publishing their PSVR games on PC, because they bought the studio. Now, I haven't played the Persistence, but I've heard good things. Reviews are pretty solid. They're like 7s and 8s instead of 9s and 10s, but if you have a PSVR, there's really no reason not to check it out, because when their next game comes out and it has a big Sony budget, you'll see where the developer came from, and you can be the cool kid at school who's like, yeah, I played their first game, The Persistence. Have you heard of it? The next game on the list is Until You Fall. I have not played this game. It looks pretty cool from the art though. It kind of looks like a knight fighting game. There's 2 guys on the art, so I'm gonna go ahead and guess that it's a 1v1, you know, knights versus knights type game where you fight. If I'm wrong, let me know down in the comments. And I'm just brushing by that one because I want to get to the 3rd game on the list, because it might be one of the best VR games ever made. No, it's definitely one of the best, probably the 2nd best VR game ever made, The Walking Dead: Saints and Sinners. Now, the reason I think this is one of the best games ever is because it feels like a real video game that has VR. It's not like, well, you're getting all these cool VR features, but the game is 2 hours long, or you're getting all these VR features, but it has terrible graphics. This game has pretty much everything you'd want from a AAA game. It's got a hub world that's a bus where you upgrade your character and your weapons, and you pick what missions you're gonna go out on. It takes place in Louisiana. I think it's like their version of New Orleans. It has a different name. It's got a full story mode about a cult, which I think is really cool. The combat is awesome. Like if you're holding a knife, you can flip it up or down depending on how you want to stab a walker. It has all of these different features that make it feel like a real full-on video game. And to get this game for free, if you have a PSVR, that is a good bonus. And again, that's something that Xbox just can't get because they don't have any VR capability on any of their consoles. And I looked at a tweet where they announced these bonus games and someone was like, great, announce a bunch of bonus games 90% of your user base can't play. And I guess that's a fair point because not a lot of people have the PSVR, and at this point it wouldn't make a lot of sense to buy the PSVR for the PS5, but they are working on the PSVR 2 and it looks like a real competitor to the Oculus Quest 2. So if you have PS Plus, there is no reason not to add these games to your account. So when you get that PSVR 2, you can play the games. You'll have them for free. You won't have to spend a bunch of extra money because I guarantee you that thing is going to be expensive. Speaking of subscription services, Sony announced the November games for PS Now as well. And honestly, 3 out of 4 of these are worth checking out if you have this service. So the first one I want to highlight is Celeste. This is a game from a guy who made Towerfall all by himself, and then he made a real game that's not just a multiplayer co-op game called Celeste. And it's a platformer. It's extremely difficult, but it's also extremely rewarding. I remember when this game came out on the Nintendo Switch, it was getting 10s across the board, and I went into it all like bitter. I was like, there's no way this is a 10. It's just like an 8-bit platformer or whatever. I was so stupid to think that because I beat it in like 2 days and it was awesome. So if you've never played Celeste, it kind of feels like it's in the same realm as something like Shovel Knight, where it looks like an old game, like an old retro style game, but then when you play it, it has a lot of modern stuff hidden behind the code. That's awesome. The next game is Final Fantasy IX. Now this is like sort of a remaster, not really. It's like the PS1 version of the game with a little bit better graphics. But unlike the original version of Final Fantasy VII, Final Fantasy VIII and IX had awesome graphics, so this game really holds up, especially with this slightly cleaned up version you're getting on PS Now. And then finally, you've got Mafia Definitive Edition. So the Mafia series is really weird. This is the first game in the series. I think it takes place in the 20s in their version of Chicago. Mafia 2, I think, is the one that everyone considers the best, and they actually released this like Mafia Definitive trilogy last year, and it's really weird because Mafia 3, they called the Definitive Edition, but it basically just got a patch that made the game work right, and they called it Definitive, so like thanks a lot. It also came with the DLC, but a lot of people don't really like Mafia 3, so that's whatever. Mafia 2 got a remaster that they called the Definitive Edition, but it's definitely more of a remaster. They updated the shooting a little bit, but at the end of the day, the animations feel old, the gameplay itself feels old. They added some modern concessions, like you can skip a lot of the driving sections. Overall, I think that game's a little bit dated, so if you've never played it, it might not be the best one to jump into first, but then you get to Mafia 1 Definitive Edition, and it's just like a full-on remake in Mafia 3's engine, and it fixes all of the problems people had with Mafia 3. It's a semi-open world action game that has a really strong narrative focus because between missions, the only time you're really ever driving through the world is to get to the next mission. There's not a lot of like open world side stuff you can do. They brought in a whole new cast for this game so they could do motion capture. The graphics are amazing. There's one moment that really stood out to me. You're doing a shootout in like a farm and you're shooting at the guys with like your Tommy gun or whatever, and then this like transformer and a power line blows up and falls over. Like it has a lot of cool set pieces, and most importantly, they went back and fixed the worst mission in the entire game, which is the slot car racing. You race these like weird old 1920s cars around a racetrack, but when you played it on the PS2, they were on like God mode, and it was seriously impossible to beat. Now you can just straight up skip the mission, which is awesome, but they also fixed the steering and all the handling, and they slowed down the other racers a little bit. I'm glad they went back and did that, because the whole point of the mission also is that you break into the garage of other racers and like ruin their cars, but then you get on the racetrack and they're going like Mach 5. It's like, I don't know how fast they were before, but they're way faster than me now. But yeah, long story short, that's a really good game, and it's perfect for PS Now because I know people don't like dropping $60 on single player narrative games that don't have a ton of replay value, but if you're subscribing to PS Now, it's free with your subscription, so at least give it a shot. Now you guys probably remember back when Sony did that huge showcase, it started with a completely bizarre live action short film that teased a bunch of PlayStation games, and everyone was kind of like, is this a game or is it a commercial? It ended up being a commercial. And here we are a couple months later, and Sony decided to start marketing based on that commercial, and they've launched this like weird, I don't even remember what it's called. It's called the Seize the Throne event, where you join with your PSN account and you can actually win some prizes by playing, so it feels like it might be worth checking out. They're being being really vague on how you actually play it, so I'm just gonna read this off my phone. They say by playing games, earning trophies, and sharing your gaming highlights, you'll help the community reach the King's Tower, enter the royal chambers, and seize the throne. I don't know what that means, but basically the first round of this, what you have to do is play a game. You get 10 points. You play a game online, you share features. Basically, you do anything on your PS5 and you build up points, and once you hit the threshold as the community, they'll start giving away prizes. Now, obviously, the prizes you're gonna get for free as a guarantee are like avatars and themes for your PS4 and stuff like that, but as you work your way up the ranks, they're throwing stuff in like a PS5 console, which I know a lot of people really want, so it's good that they made it so you can join this competition if you have a PS4. So yeah, it's definitely worth at least signing up for, because it looks like you don't really have to do anything other than play games on your PS4 or PS5 to earn prizes, and since you know they're giving away a PS5, again, it's worth a shot. So yeah, if you guys want to join, just Google PlayStation Seize the Throne and it should come right up. So at this point, I don't think I'm surprising anyone by saying that the hottest holiday item this season is 100% going to be a PS5. I mean, it was the hottest holiday item last season, but they haven't been able to keep up with demand at all this entire year, so people are really going to start wanting them now to give away for Christmas. Because, you know, unwrapping a PS5 from your girlfriend or your parents or something like that officially makes them the coolest person in the world. Now, we've heard all sorts of stories all year long about Sony teaming up with companies like AMD to make more chips, Sony calling the factories every day to make sure that the production is actually happening how it's supposed to, Sony teaming up with TSMC to make even more chips, and none of it has really resulted in more PS5s going out, but it looks like Sony's been banking them up for the holiday season. Now, people on Reddit did the math and found out how many PS5s can realistically fit inside a 747, and it's 10,000 units per plane. So 30,000 PS5s are going to be available this holiday season, and I think that will make a little bit of a difference. Like, you might be able to have a better chance of getting one, but yeah, with the demand of how many people actually want PS5s to the point where they're in the millions of sold units, 30,000 isn't going to make a huge difference. But again, it's good to see Sony actually trying here. You know, every time this gets brought up in interviews with Jim Ryan or something like that, he just says, yeah, we're trying to figure out how to fight scalpers and make more PS5s, but he's really nebulous about it, because it's like, what can you really do? It's like, if there's a shortage on the chips, you can't just invent chips out of thin air. So he's just saying that to make people feel a little better, but in reality, it's going to be hard to get a PS5 this year. So you got a few options here if you really want to get a PS5. The first one is to subscribe to PSReady, because we might be doing a giveaway over here very soon. And on top of that, you can follow me on Twitter at StayPSReady and turn notifications on, because I do my best to retweet links to PlayStation Direct queues, and Best Buy having PS5s, and Walmart having PS5s, and Amazon having PS5s, all the big storefronts that you can actually trust with your money. And then after that, you could turn on notifications for my favorite account on Twitter, Wario64, because he tweets out stuff instantly. Basically, whenever a new console comes out, I wait for him to tweet out an Amazon link. I keep notifications on for him, because he has the direct link before it actually goes live. So you can kind of put it on your Safari, right, on your phone, and then as soon as he tweets that it goes live, you just rapid refresh, add the console to your cart, and you're usually good to go. You, of course, should sign up for PlayStation Direct queues if you have a PSN account. That's really simple to do. The way that works is you wait in a queue to like buy a PS5, and if they run out before your number is called, you don't get one. There's also ways to kind of game that system. I haven't actually done it myself, so I'm not going to tell you how. You just have to Google it. And then finally, you can do things like pay for the $200 a year total tech system at Best Buy, which allows you to get faster access to buying PS5s when they become available. Walmart has Walmart Plus, which will give you access to their Black Friday deals early. I guarantee you Target's going to have something similar, because there's no way they're going to let Walmart and Best Buy just collect all this money on a service that no one's ever going to use, but they'll pay $200 for it. And then finally, you can go for scalpers. Now, they're charging around $750 right now, but that's probably going to go up as we get closer to the holidays and people get more desperate to make their kid happy, even though they work 90 hours a week just to keep that kid smiling and put food on the table, and that ungrateful little brat just wants a PS5 more than anything. They're probably going to get desperate, like I just said, and pay like $900 to $1,000 for a PS5. So if you are going to pay a scalper, I would get on that sooner rather than later. But yeah, guys, it's already rough out there if you're trying to get a PS5, and it's only going to get rougher. So if you want your best chance at getting one, make sure you're subscribed to PSReady with your notifications set to all. As always, guys, my name is Jimmy Champagne, and I'll see you in the next one. Thanks for watching.